continuing our show. Now we have a special guest, as always, Ed Corrigan. Welcome to the show, Ed.
Pleasure to be back again, Jorge.
Okay, so yeah, now today we're going to talk about the changes in the economic immigration policy. What is that? Because it looks like it's very, very interesting as it affects everybody.
Well, the new government has introduced 3 sets of changes to the policy. I guess they're getting used to what they were seeing. So now we have a lot of different changes where they were tinkering with the point system. Back earlier in the year, in May, they announced that people who were eligible had over like 400, low 400s in the point system, and they were going to get offers and encouraged to apply, and they no longer had to have a labor market impact assessment, and they also didn't even have to post a job on the job bank, so that for Service Canada to advertise themselves and have job offers. The Conservatives wanted to cherry pick the immigrants by saying here, you know, they set a limit for 29 years of age. Once you pass that, started losing points. They also wanted people to have a labor market impact assessment, which they would award 600 points to them. But very few employers were prepared to do that because there's a $1,000 fee. You have to, there's no guarantee of acceptance, and you have to be pre-approved as an employer. And to do that, you have to give all sorts of what the businesses rightly considered confidential proprietary information to the government, and they were uncomfortable doing that. So very few employers actually took that step.
It wasn't really the goal of that program wasn't achieved. No,
in fact, it wasn't achieved at all, because they were expecting everybody to have maybe 1,000, 1,200 points, which would you get 600 under the calculation for education and work experience and stuff like that, and then you would get 600 bonus points for have a labor market impact assessment, or if you had a provincial nomination, that would also give you 600 points. But very, very few people were getting those points. So in order to meet the quota, they were accepting people. According to the charts and the information the government reports, one person was accepted with a low score of 199, which is very unusual. I don't know how that was achieved, but most of the low scores are like around the 413, somewhere in that category. So that's a big change to it. They also changed the age requirement. It used to be you couldn't bring a dependent if they were over the age of 18. So the federal government has changed that. Now it's back to the old rule. Once you're older than 22, you no longer qualify as a dependent. Now in the past, the Liberals had a policy that if you were in school, that you were continued on as a dependent, but the Liberals haven't brought that back in.
They didn't brought that back.
No, and the Conservatives, I think, killed the program when they said once you got a kid who's like 19 years of age in first or second year university, you're going to leave them behind. So most people wouldn't come here. They're not going to leave their daughter or their son behind, and so that meant Canada. So it had to have a massive impact on the number of people applying and discourage people. So it was very counterproductive. And if you do any sort of professional schooling or nursing, law, anything, you're going to be in school maybe to your late 20s, and that was simply a very, very bad policy decision, and I'm sure had a huge negative impact on Canada's economic immigration.
I read that part of the decision of bringing back all of that is exactly what you're saying. Is the reunification, maintain the family nucleus, and keep a better place in the country.
And it makes sense. Today's reality is you can still be dependent on your parents till your late 20s, or I was in school till I was 30. So you do a master's in political science and a law degree, it takes time. But of course, I was born in Canada here, so they've been trying to get rid of me, but they can't. They're stuck with me. So, but yes.
Now there was also the application process is bringing, they're giving more time. No? So before was 60 days.
Yeah, they went 60 days to 90 days to apply for once you have the nomination, which is helpful because sometimes you have to do medicals and police checks and all sorts of other stuff and update your information, and that takes time, especially if you're dealing with people who are from another country and they don't have the same sort of access to technology or communication or that we have.
The number of points that are needed right now with the express visa basically is they're giving when the applicants are have 29 years, but they have experience. They can get
they introduced another amendment to recognize, this was actually a while ago, that because they left the 29-year requirement there, so that they're trying to attract younger skilled workers. But they also recognize that if you're 29 years of age, you probably have little or no experience, and you're not anywhere near the peak of your productivity. So they introduced an extra 200 points for people who had managerial experience, and that should more than offset their loss of points on the age side. Before, the government was looking at, actually the age was 49 before you start losing points, which is probably more, it's more realistic. But I think what the Liberals have done is sort of a balance of the two, still trying to attract young people who hold promising potential, plus recognize the older guys with a lot of experience, because that's really where you're going to get the economic benefit from.
Yeah, the experience has a value.
Yes.
Absolutely.